This is an MJA Inc. Investigations warning. This MJA podcast is rated E for explicit. Some details of a case and language used on this podcast might be upsetting to some of our listeners. Listeners' discretion is advised. And for those who are still with us, kick back and enjoy the show. Welcome to our MJA podcast. This series, Deep Into the Woods, Episode 18, Part 6, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. Missing Persons. The NCIC statistics for missing people number over 600,000 a year. There are many missing children and adults that are quickly found alive and well. However, tens of thousands of individuals remain missing. Unsolved crimes. In the United States, it has been reported that from 1980 to 2019, there are over 270,000 unsolved homicides. The Does. It has been reported that there are over 40,000 unidentified sets of remains in the United States. Hello, my name is Mark, and I will be your host for tonight's show. Joining me later will be our co-host, Olivia. Olivia and I will profile missing person cases, unsolved homicides, and John and Jane Does. We are coming to you from Morrisonville, New York. Missing persons. Welcome to the state of Nebraska. Case 1. It was on March 31st, 1995 is when 20-year-old Benjamin Richard Cannon, a white male, disappeared without a trace from Omaha, Nebraska. Case 2. It was on November 15th, 1978 is when 40-year-old Janet Lee Callies a white female disappeared and vanished without a trace from Grand Island, Nebraska. Welcome to the state of Missouri. Case 3. It was on September 15, 1999, is when 30-year-old James Dale Yarborough, a white male, disappeared without a trace from Palmyra, Missouri. Case 4. It was on June 19, 1972, is when 22-year-old Christine Ann Seal, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Mount Vernon, Missouri. Welcome to the state of Michigan. Case 5. It was on February 5, 2001, is when 30-year-old Glenn Richard Hostin Jr., a white male, disappeared without a trace from Middleton, Michigan. Case 6. It was on August 31st, 1981, is when 24-year-old Carolyn Sue Martin, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Madison Heights, Michigan. Unsolved Homicides. Welcome to the state of California. Case 7. Sometime before July 22nd, 1973, 22-year-old Nancy Fusey, a white female, disappeared after going dancing at a club in Sacramento, California area. Welcome to the state of Connecticut. Case 8. On April 11, 1996, 34-year-old Diana Ferris, a white female, was found murdered in her bed in her second-floor apartment located in East Hartford, Connecticut. The Does. Welcome to the state of New York. Case 9. John Doe. On October 9th, 1995, the body of a black male was discovered in a wooded area one day after his death in Brewster, New York. Case 10. Jane Doe. It was on December 6, 1983, that the body of a white female with the estimated age of 30 to 37 years old was discovered in a ditch in the town of Ellery, New York. Welcome to the state of Pennsylvania. Case 11. John Doe. On July 25, 1986, the skeletal remains of a 25 to 40-year-old white or possibly Asian mixed male was discovered in Washington Township, Pennsylvania. Case 12. Jane Doe. On October 10, 1973, a 12 to 19-year-old unidentified white female decomposing body was discovered in an isolated wooded area in Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return, Olivia will be on the line, and we will profile missing persons, unsolved homicides, John and Jane Does. Be back in a moment.
in the dark, trusting every clue I found. But the truth has not been told. Is every corner of these woods is hollow. I can't see in the dark.
Welcome to our MJ podcast, this series, Deep into the Woods, Episode 18, Part 6, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. We have Olivia on the line tonight. How are you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm just peachy. And are you ready to dig in these unsolved mysteries?
Yep.
Welcome to the state of Nebraska. The Doe Network has 29 males and 21 females listed as being missing from the state of Nebraska. Missing persons. Case 1. Welcome to Omaha, Nebraska. Missing male. It was on March 31st, 1995 is when 20-year-old Benjamin Richard Cannon, a white male, disappeared without a trace from Omaha, Nebraska. Sometime in the late March of 1995, the 20-year-old Cannon was last seen at his residence in Omaha, Nebraska. At the time of Ben Cannon's disappearance, he was involved with the Rainbow family, a nomadic cult-type religious group. The Rainbow family is a loose international affiliation of individuals who have stated a goal of trying to achieve peace and love on Earth. It has been reported that the police refused to take a missing persons report because of his interactions with the Rainbow family in the past. It was in May of 2004, 9 years after 20-year-old Ben Cannon went missing, he was officially reported as a missing person. Because the police refused to take action, many people they needed to question has moved out of the area to parts unknown. There are a few details concerning the disappearance of 20-year-old Ben Cannon. The family of the 20-year-old Ben Cannon suspects foul play in his disappearance from Omaha, Nebraska. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the Omaha Police Department, Detective Jim Raisiner at 402-444-4127.
Case 2. Welcome to Grand Island, Nebraska. Missing female. It was on November 15th, 1978, when 40-year-old Janet Lee Callies, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Grand Island, Nebraska. On that date, in the early evening hours, the 40-year-old Callies was last seen at the Sundowner, a local bar. It was reported that the 40-year-old Callies was planning on leaving the bar at 8:30 p.m. to pick up her daughter at her apartment to take her to dinner. Janet Callies never arrived at her daughter's apartment. No one was at the bar. No one at the bar seen the 40-year-old Callies leave, but Callies' car was in the parking lot, and Janet Callies has not been seen or heard from since she left the bar. Janet Callies saw a red and beige four-door 1975 Dodge Dart with Nebraska plates 8C4696 has never been located. In 1984, convicted serial killer Henry Lee Lucas confessed to Nebraska State Patrol investigators that he and his partner, Otis Toole, abducted the 40-year-old Callies on November 15, 1978. Hold on. Lucas claims his partner in crime, Otis Toole, strangled the 40-year-old Callies, and she was later buried north of Grand Island. Serial killer Lucas claims the body can be located somewhere between the north edge of Grand Island and the South Dakota border. Lucas hinted that Callies' vehicle was possibly driven to Canada and sold to a junk dealer. Serial killers Henry Lucas and Otis Toole were never charged with Janet Callie's murder. Also, through the years, law enforcement has learned that Lucas and Toole confessed to killings they didn't commit. In return, it's hard to believe that these serial killers actually abducted Callie and killed her. Foul play is suspected in 40-year-old Janet Lee Callie's disappearance from Grand Island, Nebraska. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the Grand Island Police Department, Jessica Hobach, at 308-385-5400.
Welcome to the state of Missouri. The Doe Network has 128 males and 115 females listed as being missing from the state of Missouri. Case 3. Welcome to Palmyra, Missouri. Missing male. It was on September 15, 1999 is when 30-year-old James Dale Yarborough, a white male, disappeared without a trace from Palmyra, Missouri. It was around 9 a.m. on that date the 30-year-old Yarborough was last seen at his family's farm by his mother. It was then the 30-year-old Yarborough walked out the front door of the residence and has not been seen or heard from since. 30-year-old James Dale Yarborough's disappearance was not discovered until around noon on September 15, 1999. The victim's personal possessions were left at the residence, including his vehicle and identification. There has been no use of James Dale Yarborough's Social Security number for payment purposes since the day he disappeared. The 30-year-old James Dale Yarborough left a sizable bank account behind which has not been touched and no withdrawals have been made. Family members reported that Yarborough was a non-drinker, non-smoker who has been working for a pavement and asphalt road crews. The 30-year-old Yarborough also liked to play pool and drink Mountain Dew. In 2002, investigators searched Yarborough's 250-acre farm west of Palmyra, but failed to find anything. The farm covers more than 200 acres of very rough terrain. Foul play is suspected in the disappearance of 30-year-old James Dale Yarborough. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the Marion County Sheriff's Office, Deputy Gloria Hobbs, at 573-629-0410.
Case 4. Welcome to Mount Vernon, Missouri. Missing female. It was on June 19, 1972, when 22-year-old Christine Ann Steele, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Mount Vernon, Missouri. Steele's husband left for work at 8 a.m., and Christine and her 2-year-old son were still sleeping in their beds. At 9:30 a.m., the mailman came by and noticed a toddler standing alone just inside the screen door. At 9:45 a.m., the husband returned home, finding the son in the kitchen crying, and his wife, Christine, nowhere to be found. 22-year-old Christine Anna Steele's purse and card with other personal items were still at home. It seemed that the 22-year-old Steele had disappeared from the home on June 19, 1972, wearing a nightgown. The tracking dog found Steele's scent to a spot on the property behind the family car. It was investigators' view that the 22-year-old Steele must have gotten into a vehicle because the scent was lost at that point. Investigators talked to co-workers at the beauty shop, and nothing of value turned up during the conversations. Foul play is suspected in 22-year-old Christine Anna Steele's disappearance from Mount Vernon, Missouri. If you have any info concerning this case, please call Lawrence County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Brad DeLay, at 417-466-213, extension 1.
Welcome to the state of Michigan. The Doe Network has 52 males and 152 females listed as being missing from the state of Michigan. Case 5. Welcome to Middleton, Michigan. Missing male. It was on February 5th, 2001 is when 30-year-old Glenn Richard Hostin Jr., a white male, disappeared without a trace from Middletown, Michigan. On that date, Hostin was last seen at his residence. The 30-year-old Hostin was expected to arrive at his employer's the morning of February 6, 2001, but did not arrive. Hostins often rode a bike, and the last time he was seen, he was to ride his bicycle to work and park it on the side of the building like he always did. Hostin's bike also went missing. Investigative reports were concerned who had seen the bike last and when it had been moved. On February 20th, 2001, the bike was found a few miles away in a small Michigan town. Glenn Richard Hostin, Jr. was also scheduled to appear as a witness in an upcoming criminal case. The 30-year-old Hostin disappeared just days before he was expected to testify in court in a court case involving his employer and landlord, Roger Eugene Brown. The court case concerned allegations that Brown had entered a rental unit and had taken property that belonged to the tenant. The 30-year-old Hostin was allegedly with Brown when this happened. At first, Hostin told police that Brown hadn't taken anything. The 30-year-old Hostin later recanted, and in a written statement he said Brown was upset about the condition of the trailer and took a bow and a shotgun. Brown was charged with larceny of a firearm, a 5-year felony. The pre-court hearing exam was set for February 14, 2001. According to police reports obtained under the Freedom of Information Act, the 30-year-old Hostin was frightened that Brown would evict him or fire him or do both. There has been no activity on Hostin's Social Security number. The 30-year-old Hostin has received government assistance checks, income tax refunds, and none of these checks were ever picked up. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the Michigan State Police Detective Chris Frayer at 989-352-8444.
Case 6. Welcome to Madison Heights, Michigan. Missing female. It was on August 31, 1981, when 24-year-old Carolyn Sue Martin, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Madison Heights, Michigan. On that date, 24-year-old Martin and her 2-year-old son, Mark Martin, were last seen by Carolyn Sue Martin's mother. They left Carolyn Martin's mother's home after saying goodbye for the 24-year-old Carolyn Martin and her 2-year-old son, Mark, were moving to San Antonio, Texas with Mark's father. Mark's father had wanted to relocate there for a job at an auto shop. The last time Carolyn and Mark Martin were seen by their family. The 24-year-old Carolyn Martin and 2-year-old Mark Martin were reported missing following spring after family members had not heard from them. When questioned by investigators, Mark's father reported he dropped both Carolyn and Mark on the side of I-75 just north of Toledo, Ohio. Mark's father reported that they had a suitcase of $4,000 in cash and their clothes on their backs. He claimed the 24-year-old Carolyn Martin had changed her mind and wanted to move to Texas, and she gave him permission to discard her belongings. Mark's father further explained that he had planned to continue to Texas on his own, but turned around when he had car trouble. He claims he returned to Michigan shortly after and had not seen or heard from Carolyn or Mark Martin since. Investors suspect foul play in the 24-year-old Carolyn and 2-year-old Mark Martin's disappearance. Mark's father is considered a person of interest. If you have any info concerning this case, please call Madison Heights Police Department at 248-585-2100.
Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return, we will profile 2 unsolved homicides. Be back in a moment. Welcome back to our MJA podcast, this series, Deep into the Woods, Episode 18, Part 6, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. Unsolved Crimes. Even though we might find this intriguing and exciting, unsolved mysteries are a nightmare for the loved ones left behind and the detectives dedicated to solving them. Sometimes it's new forensic evidence, and other times it's as simple as re-examining the clues that leads to a cold case being solved. Welcome to the state of California. The Murder Accountability Project and Project Cold Case report that from 1980 to 2019, there are over 48,000 unsolved homicides in the state of California. Case 7. Welcome to Sacramento, California. Unsolved homicide. Sometime before July 22, 1973, 22-year-old Nancy Pusey, a white female, disappeared after going dancing at a club in the Sacramento, California area. Earlier that morning, 22-year-old Nancy Pusey had been dancing at Plumbers Hall. The last known sighting of the 22-year-old Pusey being alive was 2 miles southwest of Plumbers Hall. The sighting was only 3.5 hours before the lifeless body of 22-year-old Pusey was discovered alongside Pleasant Grove Road, 15 miles north of Sacramento, California. On July 22, 1973, the 22-year-old Nancy Pusey's body was found in Redding, California. On that day, the nearly nude body of 22-year-old Pusey, a separated mother of 5, was discovered by a fisherman at 6:30 a.m. alongside Pleasant Grove Road and Steelhead Creek. The 22-year-old Pusey, a mother of 5 children, had been stabbed to death. The 22-year-old Nancy Pusey was dressed in a miniskirt and bikini-style briefs with a blouse discovered nearby. Nancy Pusey had been brutally stabbed 29 times in the stomach, the chest, and arm in what appeared to be a sexually driven crime. Shoe prints and tire tracks were discovered close to where the nearly nude body of the young woman was found. This opened up the possibility that the 22-year-old Pusey was murdered elsewhere and transported to the scene of the crime. The investigators made it clear that the vehicle used to transport the body to the location would be heavily bloodstained. Clearly, the murderer had many earlier opportunities to dispose of 22-year-old Pusey's body on the 15-mile journey north. So it's possible that this location was familiar to the killer and may have visited the area and considered the location as a safe option. If you continue north for 10 more miles, brings you to the designated places where other murdered victims have been found. The 1973 homicide of 22-year-old Nancy Pusey still remains unsolved. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the Sacramento Police Department at 916-808-5471 or 916-808-4500.
Welcome to the state of Connecticut. The Murder Accountability Project and Project Cold Case report that from 1980 to 2019, there are over 1,777 unsolved homicides in the state of Connecticut. Case 8. Welcome to East Hartford, Connecticut. Unsolved homicide. On April 11, 1996, 34-year-old Diana Ferris, a white female, was found murdered in her bed in her second-floor apartment located in East Hartford, Connecticut. On that day, friends and family grew concerned when they didn't hear from the 34-year-old Ferris, a mother of 3, and who was 5.5 months pregnant for a few days. On April 11, 1996, at a concern from friends and family, a wellness check was performed by a maintenance worker at the apartment complex. Maintenance worker discovered the lifeless body of 34-year-old Diana Ferris, and law enforcement was called. 34-year-old Ferris was discovered wearing a T-shirt and underwear with a pillowcase over her head. Police also found a telephone cord wrapped around her neck, as well as bruises on her leg. When the police arrived on the scene, the 34-year-old Ferris was pronounced dead, and her fetus was stillborn. Some reports suggest that the 34-year-old Ferris had been dead for several days. An autopsy was conducted the next day. Death of Diana Ferris was ruled a homicide. 34-year-old Ferris was living with a boyfriend and father of her unborn child, Harold Rice, at the time. Rice was 41 years old and had been arrested earlier that year and charged with first-degree robbery. At the time of 34-year-old Ferris's death, Rice was being held on $50,000 bail. Could Diana Ferris's murder be connected to a fatal stabbing she witnessed several years earlier? In 1993, Diana Ferris witnessed the murder of a 37-year-old man, Thomas F. Myers. Diana did not know Thomas, but had offered to drive him to the Dutch Point housing project. While Myers was waiting for Diana Ferris to return to the car, 37-year-old Myers was fatally stabbed. Police inquired about what Diana Ferris saw that day. Ferris was reluctant to share information. Thomas Myers' murder remains unsolved. At one point, investigators were considering that 34-year-old Ferris, this case could be linked to multiple other cases that have happened within years of each other. The case stands today. The murder of 34-year-old Diana Ferris remains unsolved. Police have not named a person of interest or suspect in the unsolved homicide of 34-year-old Diana Ferris. If you have any information regarding the murder of 34-year-old Diana Ferris, please call the Hartford Police Department at 860-757-4000.
Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return, we will profile 2 John Does and 2 Jane Does. Be back in a moment. Welcome back to our MJ podcast, the series, Deep into the Woods, episode 18, part 6, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. The Does. Welcome to the state of New York. The Doe Network has 130 John Does and 79 Jane Does listed as being discovered in the state of New York. Case 9. Welcome to Brewster, New York. John Doe. On October 9, 1995, the body of a black male was discovered in a wooded area one day after his death in Brewster, New York. It's estimated that the black John Doe was 40 to 50 years old. A teenager riding an all-terrain vehicle found the black male's body laying face down in the woods about a half mile from Bloomer Road near Garden Street Elementary School. The black John Doe's body was mostly covered in snow and ice. The cause of death was ruled a suicide due to the self-inflicted wounds found on John Doe's wrists. The 40 to 50-year-old black John Doe was well-dressed, well-groomed, and he wore a gold crucifix around his neck. The black John Doe carried no identification and had $1,158 separated in multiple pants pockets. The John Doe also had a Metro North ticket indicated he had traveled to Brewster on the Harlem line from Lower Westchester. There was also a receipt from the curtain shop on Main Street in New Rochelle in one pocket. On October 10, 1995, the Black John Doe was last seen alive at the curtain shop where he had purchased 2 expensive blankets. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the New York State Police Troop K, Bureau of Criminal Investigations, Chad Greer, at 845-279-6161.
Case 10. Welcome to Ellery, New York. Jane Doe. It was on December 6, 1983, that the body of a white female with estimated age of 30 to 37 years old discovered in a ditch along Route 17 Southern Tier Expressway, eastbound lane in the town of Ellery, New York. The female victim had a recognizable face and just died hours before being discovered. Cause of death was homicide by gunshot. It was 8:30 a.m. on December 6, 1983, when the partially clad body of a female was found by utility company employees. The unidentified female victim had been shot once in the back and twice in the chest and once inside the mouth. The body was discovered in the westernmost part of New York State between Buffalo and Erie, Pennsylvania. It is believed the Jane Doe victim may have been from Canada or some European country. However, no reports of internationally missing individuals appear to match the victim by physical description. Fingerprint searches have also turned up negative. Initial reports from law enforcement state the John Doe victim may have been sexually assaulted, but this remains unconfirmed. This case remains unsolved, and at this time there are no leads to follow who Jane Doe could be or who could have murdered her. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office at 716-753-4232.
Welcome to the state of Pennsylvania. The Doe Network has 44 John Does and 29 Jane Does listed as being discovered in the state of Pennsylvania. Case 11. Welcome to Washington Township, Pennsylvania. John Doe. On July 25, 1986, the skeletal remains of a 25 to 40-year-old white or possibly Asian mixed male was discovered in Washington Township, Pennsylvania. The estimated date of death of John Doe was in early 1986. John Doe's cause of death was ruled a homicide. On July 25, 1986, the skeletal remains of John Doe was discovered near an abandoned strip mine in northern Washington Township, Pennsylvania. John Doe's remains were laying face up about 20 to 30 feet east of the access road. John Doe's skull was located about 5 to 10 feet north of the torso. John Doe's entire right hand was missing, as were the fingers on the left hand. Evidence at the scene indicated that the body was brought to the site after death. Several pieces of burned material were found near the head area of the remains. A piece of electrical wire was found around the neck area of John Doe's skeleton. The case remains unsolved with no leads to follow to ID John Doe or catch his killer. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the Jefferson County Coroner's Office at 814-653-8080.
Case 12. Welcome to Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. Jane Doe. On October 10th, 1973, a 12 to 19-year-old unidentified white female decomposing body was discovered in an isolated wooded area in Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. Jane Doe's estimated date of death was 1 to 3 weeks before being discovered. Due to the condition of Jane Doe's remains, the cause of death is unknown. Jane Doe's decomposing Did I say that right?
Decomposing, yeah.
Decomposing remains were discovered by Lebanon County Deputy Game Protectors in a wooded area off Moonshine Road and Route 443. Jane Doe's remains were not buried. They were covered with tree branches, brush, and a large piece of green plastic. The white seal on the plastic read National Sanitation Foundation Testing Laboratories 8505. According to records, such a testing laboratory does not exist. In May 2019, Jane Doe's remains were exhumed for further testing. Based on chemical isotope testing, Jane Doe did not grow up in Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. The isotope testing indicates that Jane Doe grew up in the southeastern region of the United States, which includes 16 states. Jane Doe was possibly of southeastern European descent and could be 14 to 19 years old. The case remains unsolved, with no leads to follow to ID Jane Doe or catch her killer. If you have any info concerning this case, please call Pennsylvania State Police Trooper Nathan Trait at 717-865-3647.
Okay, Olivia, is there anything you would like to add to any of these cases?
Yeah, Connecticut and Pennsylvania. Connecticut, could that be the Connecticut River Killer?
Okay, what year was
Or is he just in New Hampshire?
No, he was everywhere.
He was everywhere, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, it could have been one of them because it's already been proven there was 3 working that area. So, yeah, it's very possible that, you could put them in that group. But,
yeah,
like I said, it's, once again, it's still going on today. So, that's what I mean about having an area like that, the Connecticut River Valley. Well, it's not unusual. Let's put it this way. In Illinois, they had 3 serial killers operating at one time in a 150-mile radius, and 2 of them was operating in the same county. So it wouldn't be unusual. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And Pennsylvania, I don't know, it just seems like it's dumping grounds for bodies. I personally, not a fan of Pennsylvania. For some reason, it always just creeps me out. You know, not to insult anybody that lives there, but I'd rather be in the White Mountains than in Pennsylvania. But I don't know. There's just something about it. It's just very isolated in areas, and
oh yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just never. You know, when you go all the way out west, it's like just different. You know.
I remember I went on a hunting trip to Pennsylvania, and
there's a lot of hunting.
Yeah. And this is how isolated it could be. It was a 3-day trip, okay? In those 3 days, we didn't see one other person out in the woods.
Yeah, that's what I mean. No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just
very isolated.
Weird.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
I want to thank Olivia for being on the show tonight. A special thanks to our viewers and listeners for tuning in, for y'all have been so kind. I have a quote for you all. Don't be pushed around by the fears in your mind. Be led by the dreams in your heart. Roy T. Bennett. Always remember, folks, that if you ever get bored with nothing to do, well, take a walk deep into the woods. You might be surprised at what you might find. That's the end of our MJ podcast, the series Deep Into the Woods. This has been episode 18, part 6, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. We say to all of you, good night from Morrisonville, New York.
All my friends are heathen, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse. Welcome to the rooms of people who have rules for people that they love one day. Docked away, Just because you check the guns at the door doesn't mean the brains will change from hand to grenade.